Hi everyone. So I thought I would start my end of the month reading wrap up. So I'm going to talk about my first book that I read. So I ended up reading Muscles and Monsters. This is Leviathan, yeah. Fitness #1 by Ashley Bennett. Okay. I gave this one a 3, and I did it because the writing was fine, but I will say there were some things in here that I would have felt like, what's the word? Yes, old. I felt old reading this. Maybe if you're in your early 20s, but some terms I thought were kind of funny. So it's a good amount of spice to it. It had a good, okay, hang on a minute. Okay, I got my prop, so, because it refers to this book. So, sometimes what I do is I will read a book and I forget to highlight things. I need to start doing that when I find something ridiculous. I need to start like highlighting it. So that way, if anybody checks out my Goodreads reviews, you could see all the highlights. All the stuff that either I liked or things that maybe I had issues with. So, like I said, I gave this one a 3. It was spicy. I gave it like a 4 out of 5. If you're looking for, spiciness, you'll find it in this. Well, I said I did. This did have some sweetness to it, but it also was cheesy and reminded me too much of Morning Glory Milking Farm. So I had said, I felt that Atlas looked too much like a dog. And I felt like the heroine was into bestiality. I kept trying to picture Michael J. Fox's Teen Wolf, but instead he looked jacked from going to the gym. So I'll throw a picture like right here of Michael J. Fox's Teen Wolf. If you grew up in the 80s, you know what this movie is. But I was kind of picturing him more like jacked, those bro gym guys, that are at the gym. I'll put it right there. Also, some of the lines I highlighted were cheesy. Also, the repeated nicknames of Baby and Sweet Thing annoyed me. Also, I felt that the characters acted really immature with the amount of emojis they constantly used in their text messages to each other. I felt like if the character of Atlas was more of a shifter werewolf, rather than him looking like a wolfen, whatever that is, all the time, that I would have been more into this book. But that was the thing that I just found was corny, is that some of the things were just kind of cheesy to me. So I have like highlights here. The first thing I highlighted, this was 10% into the book. This was when the character of Tegan, because this is a female, her name is Tegan. When the female of Tegan is looking at Atlas, and he's all like muscly and ripped, and she says it looked like he was trying to smuggle a can of Pringles into the competition. I was drooling. I don't know about you, but if a guy was packing a Pringles can in his Johnson, in his pants, his Johnson was a sign of a Pringles can? Excuse me, but I would be running away. Look at the size of this thing. Now imagine going in your hoo-ha with that. No. I would be running away. So at 10%, when that hit and the author had stated that, I started laughing. And I'm like, does she not realize how big a Pringles can is? and you think that you're drooling for that. I know there are size queens out there, but damn. I have had guys that were above average. You know, average size is about 6 inches. So I've had guys that were like 8 or over. They may look drool worthy when you look at them, you know. But believe me, when it's all up in your, you know, hoo-ha, it's not so much fun. Unless you like pain. You know, unless you like pain with your pleasure, which some women do. And if that's what you like, awesome. But for me, I do not want to feel like I'm having a baby every time I get intimate with a man. No, thank you. I would rather have average. Nope, sorry. I'd rather have average. Women being like, yeah. But for me, heck no. Average. I'm fine with that. So some of the other things I highlighted was Tegan had sent me a heart eye emoji. The amount of fucking emojis that were in this book, I was just like, really? Are we like tweens here where we are texting each other and be like, happy face, love eyes? You know, I mean, I just didn't get it. Just the characters seemed way too immature. And I don't know, is this a 20s thing? Is this a teen thing where you're constantly sending each other like emojis and you're not really saying anything in the text? It's just mainly emojis. Is this like a teen or 20s thing? Because I'm in my 40s and the amount of emojis, if somebody sent me like a whole ton of emojis, I'd be like, please stop with the emojis. Please stop with the emojis. Please stop. So there was that. The other thing is, I'm like, is this what actually people say? So it was about 42% in. It says, Atlas was going to be foaming at the mouth over the sight of me in this dress. I looked like an absolute snack. Do people say this? Do people say this? Besides like in the movies and stuff like that. You know, because people like will come up with terms. Like in the movie Mean Girls. The one girl, I think was her name Gretchen Wiener. She's like, that's so fetch. And so, what's her name? The other chick with the blonde hair, I can't remember her name, Regina. She was all like, that's not a word. Stop making it a word. So I kind of feel like that's kind of like with this here. Like, I'm going to be someone's snack. And it's like, really? People say this? People say it? Really? Okay. I was just like, okay. And like I said, when it comes to the terms baby, repeatedly in this book, and this book wasn't even that long. I think it was maybe like 200 pages, maybe less. The amount of times he said baby to her, annoying. So he's like, sure thing, baby, he said with a lazy smile. I didn't think I'd ever get tired of hearing him call me that. I would get annoyed. Honestly, I would. If my boyfriend kept repeating, okay, baby, okay, sweetheart, I'd be like, stop it! Stop calling me that! Stop calling me! I have a fucking name. Call me my name. Oh, I hate that. I hate when you have a hero constantly call the heroine a fucking nickname. You know, it just gets so annoying. It's like you could have called her like Teague or, you know, Tegan. Why with the baby? Why constantly with the baby? You know? Ugh. Or it was like he says, you ready, sweet thing? You know, gonna F you with this monster C-O-C-K now. Again with the nicknames. He called her like sweet thing at least, I think I counted like 5 times in one sex session. 5 times! To keep being called sweet thing? Ugh. I just was like, with fucking nicknames. Oh man. It was so irritating. And then this one here, I highlighted one of the text messages where it said, Atlas, hi baby, it's HIII, which I don't know about you. This is something me and my uncle had found out about, because my uncle and I are close in age. And we had watched something the one day where they said, like, if women text you and it's like, hey, and it's like how many Y's or how many E's in hey or how many I's in like hi, it means they're like down to F-U-C-K. You know, they're down to fuck. So I was like, that's what that means? I had no idea. Women do this? And he was like, huh? He goes, oh, so all these chicks that were like saying hey to me, and it was all like, hey, that's what they wanted. They wanted me to, you know, be with them. And I'm like, that's so weird. I've never heard of that. So it must be with this, where it's like, obviously it's like the guy is like, basically like he's down to fuck and all that stuff, you know, whatever it is. Cause he's like saying hi, H-I-I-I. Hi, baby, miss you, heart eye emoji, kiss face emoji, princess emoji, 2 hearts emoji, wolf emoji. Really? Ugh. I was just like, I was rolling my fucking eyes reading this, and I'm just like, what's with all the stupid emojis? I'm like, oh my God, I would break up with somebody if they kept doing that to me. I honestly would. I would break up with this person. I'd say, I'm going to fucking kill your phone if you keep sending me these stupid emojis when we text. Just text me. I don't need to have all the heart eyes, you know, all this like little, the hearts and I love you. Oh my God. That is the thing about me, is I am not one of those like gushy, I'm not one of those like gushy, overly romantic, you know, like, I love you. I don't, oh, that irritates the fuck out of me. I hate that. I am not that type of person where I like all it just seems forced and fake to me. It just seems so fake to me. I hate being in a relationship with somebody where the guy's like I had an ex constantly would tell me he loved me. I love you. You already freaking told me you love me, okay? You don't need to tell me this all the time. Because then it makes me think you don't know what that word means. You do not know what that term means. You know, when you say I love you, to me it's like that word gets thrown around a lot. And it's there is love, but there also is things that are called, you know, lust. There's also things called infatuation. And people get infatuation and lust mixed up with love. Okay? You have to know somebody a while before you say, I love you. Okay? It takes a while. It takes a while. You can't just say that. A lot of times you meet somebody, it's attraction first, it's animal instinct. We all have this. It's in our DNA, it's in our biology. We are meant to procreate and have babies and all this other stuff. Our, you know, women, you know, our biological clocks are ticking, you know, for, I'd say, most women. There are some women out there that don't want to have kids, and that's fine. You know, that's fine. But I will say, you have that instinct in you, even if you don't want to have children. There is an instinct in you to where you want to, like, procreate and, you know, all that stuff. So we all pretty much have that in us, you know. So it's something that is, like, natural. But it just gets so annoying when you have somebody who's just so, it just seems fake to me. Like the amount of, like, you know, you do. And it's like, you don't have to go that hard. Okay. You do not have to go that hard. Okay. To me, I'm like, it's not It's not tell me you love me, it's show me you love me. To me, it's like, it's a thought that counts more than anything. Like if my boyfriend buys me something because he was thinking about me, that to me is more heartfelt than than like if he was like constantly buying me flowers or something like that. I hate flowers. This is one thing that anybody gets in a relationship with me, I always tell them, please do not buy me flowers. If you want to buy me chocolate, I will happily take the chocolate, okay? I love chocolate. I will happily take that chocolate. Especially if it's from one of my favorite candy shops, you know? Yes, please. I will happily take that. But I'm not into flowers because flowers die. You cut the flower dies. So I always think about, does that mean our relationship's gonna die? Because you gave me these flowers, you know, and I get I understand the gesture, you know, because you were thinking about me. That's fine. But then the flower dies. No matter how much you put aspirin in the water to try to preserve the flowers, eventually they die. So I just think it's a much better gift, in my opinion, to give a woman a plant and try to keep that motherfucker alive, okay? So for me, it's like, that to me has a better symbol of a relationship than giving a woman flowers and then the flowers fucking die, especially roses. Please do not give me roses. That is so cliche. Every motherfucker out there buys roses for their woman, okay? So boring. So boring. So yeah, for me, it's like, look, if you know me, I don't do flowers. What I do is an Amazon gift card, a Barnes & Noble gift card, chocolate, you know, maybe like an iced tea, buy me an iced tea, whatever. You know, something that you know I like, you know. I will happily take that. A Bath & Body Works gift card. Yay! I will happily take that. But flowers, all this other stupid stuff that fucking guys tend to do, you know, it's boring. It's boring. I will tell a guy, do not buy me flowers. If you want to buy me chocolate, that's fine. Do not buy me flowers. I hate that. So yeah, anything when it comes to like stuff like this where, make a long story short, this one here was just cheese. And I would say, like, if you're the type of person where you like more of a cheesy type of like romance, like there are some out there, like I think there's this author, it's called Chuck Tingle, I think that's what he's called, and he does the most outrageous fucking, I think it's a man, most outrageous erotic or romance type novels. So ridiculous, but that's the whole point. It's like, you know, and I'm like, if it makes him happy to write, you know, I think it's I think it's a man. If it makes him happy to write them and women are like consuming them and then they're enjoying them, okay, fine. You know, that's fine. But this is kind of like in that same aspect where it's more silly. It's more silly. The dialogue and the way the author wrote, it was definitely more silly, definitely like more immature. And that's why I said, like, I think this might be like a more of a fit for somebody who is like, if you like monster romances and you're like younger, you know, like maybe you're in your 20s or so, you may like this book. But for me, being in my 40s, it was just really silly to me. It was just very silly to me. And like I said, no offense to the author, but I just don't think like this author and I mesh well. Also, it's like, this author is new, so I don't want to shit all over the book, but it just, it is new. The author started writing in like when the pandemic happened, so like 2020. So the author's only been writing for like a couple of years. So for me, I was like, I just felt it was really silly and funny in some ways. It did make me laugh in some instances, you know, some parts of the book. But and also like like I said, for me, when I'm picturing this like wolfin, kind of weird, because it's like, it's got like this snout and then they're kissing, and I'm just like, I just feel like she's kissing a dog, and I'm just like, I'm not into like, bestiality. It's not my thing. Don't do that to an animal, because that is animal abuse. Please do not try to do that. Please do not do that. So I just thought that was kind of weird. It's like he's got kind of like a wolf or dog face, and then he had a tail and it kept wagging. The wagging tail showed his excitement, and I just kept thinking of like Fido, and I'm like, I'm just like, oh my God. I'm just like, please do not fuck that dog. So I just was like, I don't know. It seemed really silly to me. And I gave it a 3. It was fine. It was like funny. This is not to be taken seriously. I'll just say that. This is like one of those novels where you just cannot take this one seriously. There's a second book that like, it has to do with like tentacles or something like that. And I'm just like, I don't think so. I think I'll skip that. I don't think I want to read any more from this author. And it's like I said, she doesn't have bad writing. It's just very immature. And so I'm looking for an author that gives me a little bit more mature writing. Anyways, it's a very long review, but I just thought it was funny, and I had to bring that up of the stuff, and I'm like, the Pringles can, really? Pringles. I'm just like, no, get that away from my hoo-ha. You are not going anywhere near me. No. So I'm like, I'm keeping my legs crossed. Get the fuck away from me. No. I just thought it was hilarious. And then also, like, his tip for his Johnson was red. And it just made me think of the lipstick, when dogs get in heat and stuff. So there was that. And then, because he was so big, he had this knot, a knot that was obviously bigger. And so when it goes inside her, when it went inside her, it went pop, and it popped inside her. And I'm like, no. Woo! No. That's like giving birth, man. No to the no. So I just thought it was silly. It was just silly. Like I said, don't want to keep going on because it's a very long review, but I just wanted to come like start off this here with that one, and it's, yeah. Anyways. Okay, so the rest of the books, I'm going to try to be as quick as I can because I can linger, especially when it comes to certain books that maybe bring out a lot of emotion in me, bring out a lot of different life experiences, things like that. I can tend to linger, so I'm going to try to be as quick as I can for the rest of these books because I don't want this review to be like super long. So the next book I ended up reading was Blood Moon by Gillian Graves. Now I can already tell this is not an author for me. I tried to read her first book, Titan, that is about like a gargoyle. It's like a gargoyle daddy dom, and there are authors out there that they focus on like tropes, or they focus on like representation for certain things, like if somebody's like curvy, like you have characters that get put in books like, oh, well, she's a curvy heroine. Okay, well, what else is it about this heroine that I'm going to like besides the fact that she has curves? Okay, that's superficial, that's surface level characterization. I want to see more in depth. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more in depth to the character besides, oh, well, she's curvy. Okay, what else? So same thing with like this one here. So I decided to delve into the second story in this series. So I went and read Blood Moon by Gillian Graves. Now, this one here has Hazel and Vlad. The spice was about a 3 out of 5. Like, if you're looking for spiciness, you'll find it in here. You know, there's a good amount of spice in here. So you have, like, Hazel is that representation of she's a 6-foot woman. She's a statuesque woman. And so she's, you know, she's tall, so she can look very intimidating, you know, because of her height and all that stuff. She's got like a tattoo sleeve, like when you could see the cover, you could see like she's got this whole tattoo sleeve. So, and she's got like pink hair. The other thing I thought was weird is her pubic hair is pink. So you're going to dye your pubic hair pink like your hair? Don't do that. No, don't do that. Yeah, no. Just shave it, or, you know, don't have the carpet match the drapes. I mean, who cares? So to me, I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. So one night, Hazel, after working in the bar, she works at this bar. I'd say she owns the bar. She owns this bar. And so she's taking a shower, and she ended up getting this potion from her friend. And she's a witch, so she works in potions. Her friend is learning from these potions. Kind of like, the way I kind of think about it is that there are bartenders that they learn different ingredients on how to make different drinks and stuff like that. So I kind of think of it as that. Like, she is obviously more of an expert when it comes to potions, and this friend is like learning from her. So her friend gives her this potion, and it makes her like, it makes Hazel all kind of like hot and bothered. So she's in the shower, and all of a sudden she feels like there's a presence in the shower. So she looks up above, you know, the shower, looks above, because she's obviously tall enough to reach the outer area. And she sees this guy who's just kind of standing there, you know, in the bathroom. And so you end up finding out that he was trying to like, you know, get, I guess, a breather and all that stuff. And he didn't realize that there was someone in the bathroom. So they get to talking, and she realizes, okay, he's a vampire. And so she's, you know, really like in the mood. So she convinces him like, hey, let's go down to Pound Town kind of thing. And so they go into the bedroom, and they, you know, get it on. And from there, it's like she learns that, oh, he's like, he owns like the club next door. It's like competing with her. So it's kind of like she doesn't like him now because, you know, he's competing with her, and he's, you know, doesn't realize that there are certain things going on at her bar that he doesn't know about. And so it's kind of like a little bit of miscommunication, because once he finds out about it, he tries to help her. And so to me, I felt like this was very much surface level of like a romance, a story. I didn't really get that depth to it that I really wanted. So this is why I ended up giving it a 3, because it was decent, but I really wanted more to the story than what I got. So that's why ultimately I ended up giving it a 3. It was okay, could have been better. And I just don't think this author is for me, you know, because you can go and throw in like representation, you know, like, oh, let's go and throw in this person who's black. And it's like, well, what else is besides them, besides their color, besides the color of their skin? What else is about them? You need to give them more depth to their character than have them be just one-dimensional characters where it's like, oh, well, this person's black, this person's Asian, this person's this person's that. And it's like, okay, but that's just stereotype. You're just stereotyping at this point, because there needs to be more in depth to these characters. They're not just surface level of what's on the outside. I'm not just a white person, you know. There's more to me than just me being white, you know. So it's the same thing with anything else. If you're going to give me representation, you need to have more than just that surface level, you know. And if you can't write representation, then don't fucking write it. Don't write it. Don't write it. And don't have people force you to write it. If you don't know how to properly characterize people other than your own fucking skin tone, then don't write it. Don't write it. Because you're going to not do well at it, and people are going to call it the fuck out. So to me, if you don't know, then don't write about it. That's my best thing I can give to people. It's like, don't go and try to tell this author to write male characters when it's like they may not give a proper story for a male story, you know? I would rather have somebody who is more experienced in that type of like storyline to give me a male or a female or whatever else, you know? You gotta have someone who's done the research, who's asked people like, you know, who are male, you know, who are gay. Ask couples like, how are you in this relationship? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Ask, research, you know. There has to be authors who properly research subject matter before you delve into it. And if you don't research it well enough, it's going to show in your fucking story. So that's just how it is. That's kind of like how I feel like this one here. You got to have the representation. So, and the representation has to be more than just the fucking surface level. So the next one I ended up reading, I gave this one 5 stars because I definitely felt, you know, you feel the character growth. You feel the, you know, there's more to these characters than just one-dimensional characters. These characters have depth. That's why I gave this 5 stars, because you could see the depth of these characters. So, I ended up reading Heartless by Elsie Silver. Now, I will say, this is a hyped book that is, I would say, worth the hype. I will say it's worth the hype. I really enjoyed this one. I tried to get into the first book in the series, but I wasn't feeling the characters, so I ended up DNFing it. And then I was like, well, I'll go back to it maybe if I like this one here, and I did like it, so I figured I'm going to go back to the first one, try to read it again, see if I can get through it. I may not give it as good a stars as this one here. I may end up giving it a 3 or a 4, depends. I have to finish it. But this one here, I gave it 5 stars because I really did enjoy this one. So we've got we got the characters of Cade and Willa. I gave this a 4 out of 5 for spice level. The trope is there's a nanny, she's the nanny. There's an age gap, she's 25, he's 38. Grumpy Sunshine, he's the grump, she's the sunshine. And there is also surprise pregnancy in here. So just a warning on that one. For me, I said I freaking loved Willa. She was so good to Cade's son Luke. That little boy needed the love of a mother, and Willa was able to provide that for him. Said also, if it's an age gap, I need to believe that that relationship can last, and thankfully Willa was very feisty and independent and mature. She was a big goofball, but Cade needed someone to bring a smile to his face. She was definitely the glue that this family needed. I said I'm definitely looking forward to the next story, which was the 3rd book. We'll see how that one is, because I very much am the type of person where I cannot see that. I cannot get into a female heroine that is like weak, damsel in distress. I'm not really into those types of heroines, but I also do not like the type of heroines that are all like, you know, well, I'm a feminist, and it's like, so yeah, for me, there was a couple of things in here that kind of irritated me. One was like, Willa did say like, oh, fuck the patriarchy. And I'm like, I'm so tired of hearing that. I'm just so tired of hearing that, where it's like, oh, the patriarchy, you know, and it's like toxic masculinity. And I'm so tired of hearing it. I'm so tired of it, you know. We need to have men who are masculine. I'm sorry, but we do. I'm not going to date some beta pussy simp that is like, well, I'm a feminist too. No, fuck that. I do not want to date a weak ass man like that, because those are the opportunistic grapists. You do not want to hang out with those types of guys, okay? They're the creepos. They're only saying that they're a feminist to get in your panties, okay? That's it. They're creepos. You stay away from those people. I want a man who's masculine, who shows me that he can work well with his hands, that he can take care of himself and take care of his woman. Of course, you don't want a guy who's like, you don't want the type of chauvinist man that's like, oh, well, the lady needs to stay in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, you know? It's like, obviously you don't want that type of thing. Now, if a guy can joke around with me and say, go ahead and make me a sandwich, I might laugh at it and say, you know, obviously it's a joke. He's being, you know, like being funny with me. But if he was serious, I'd be like, you can make your own sandwich, buddy. So for me, there is a middle ground. You can have a middle ground where you can find a man that is masculine, that is strong, but is not a toxic man. You know, there are toxic men, and then there's weak ass pussy men that I don't want anything to do with, because I would fucking destroy them. You know, so you gotta have a good middle when it comes to a man. You know, same thing with women. It's the same fucking thing. I don't want the feminist man-hating woman, but I also do not want that, oh, well, I can't do anything. Molly broke a nail. I hate that shit too. You know, there has to be a good medium where it's like, you are self-sufficient, but you also are not that fucking stubborn to where you're not going to accept help when you need help. There is a difference. So for me, when I first started dating my boyfriend that I have now, I had to let go of some things and realize that my boyfriend's just trying to help me. You know, I had to let go of some things. Now, I'm still self-sufficient in things, because there are some things that I know that my boyfriend doesn't know, especially when it comes to like the toilet, you know, like, you know, he'd be like, oh, it's leaking. We need to go and like, you know, call our manager to go get it fixed. And I'm like, dude, just lift the fucking bowl and see if maybe something's loose inside the toilet bowl. Let's do that first. Okay? Because I have experienced that stuff, because I've had to be self-sufficient. You know, it's either you be self-sufficient, or you have to call in a plumber and they charge you how much money for that a simple fucking fix could have did it. So, you know, try to be smart. Try to use your common sense before you go and decide to call in a fucking plumber. You know, I'm just saying. You know, there are things you can do before you call in that plumber. So, you know, for me, I am self-sufficient, but I also had to put my defenses down. And that's the thing. When you get in a relationship, you have to learn to lower your defenses. You know, lower that wall, man. You got to let that person in. Because if you keep your walls up, you're not going to have that relationship for long. This person is going to be on the outside looking in. They're not going to be involved in your relationship. So you got to learn to work together. So with this one here, it's like you seen these characters that were, you know, very stubborn. Both of them were very stubborn. So you had to see them like work with each other. So that's the thing I really liked about this story, is that seeing them work with each other, seeing Willa's like relationship with Luke. I just loved her for Luke, because that boy needed a mom, because his mother was a see you next Tuesday, only would show up yearly for his birthday and try to act like that's her baby. You have to be, if you want to call yourself mother, if you want to have that title, because it's a very important title, if you want to have that title of mother, you need to show up. Show up. Now, I realize there's women out there that have full-time jobs. They have to work. Realize that. Totally understand that. But also, you need to be present in your kids' lives as much as you can to show them that you're there for them. Because if you only show up once a fucking year for the birthday to save face and say, see, I did it. I showed up for his birthday at least, you know. You don't call yourself mom, because you're not. You're just an egg donor at that point. You were an oven to carry that child in, and that's it. It's like when there are men out there that are basically sperm donors. You're not a father if you're not around. If you're not around for your kid, and I'm not saying like the mother is forcing you away, because there's women who are like that too. Don't fucking do that shit. Unless the father is abusive towards the children, you know, or is neglectful, you do not deprive fathers from their children. That is not right. A perfect example, I've seen women do this. You do not do that. You know, even if you don't agree with your ex, you can't get along with your ex, you learn to be civil for the children. So, with his ex, she was a see you next Tuesday. You cannot reason with this person because they don't want to be reasoned with. So with her, she's a different story. It's hard to kind of like this character that didn't want to be a mother, just wanted to trap the man because she was interested in him. And then when she realized that she had him, she didn't really want him. You know, it was kind of like a competition thing for her, you know, winning this guy, having him, you know, getting deliberately pregnant, because that's what this bitch did. Deliberately pregnant just to trap the guy. We do not do that. I hate when women do that. You are not a part of my group, honey, when you do that shit, because I fucking hate that. I hate women who are like that, who are basically just baby makers to go and trap the guy and get child support from the guy, or to go and trap the guy so that way he stays with you. No. You are not a mother. So, for me, you know, I definitely liked Willa, because Willa was more of a mother to Luke than his own mother. And I really liked that, because it's like, it doesn't matter whether a child's adoptive or the child is your own biological child. You raise that kid. You raise that kid. You have more rights to that kid than that fucking biological parent that is not around. Not around. That person has more rights because they're spending money on that kid. They're spending their time with that kid. That is more important to me. This person who may not be biologically involved, you know, they're more important than the biological parent, you know. My boyfriend has done a better job of raising my kids with me than my ex would have. You know, if my ex was still alive, he was very much out to lunch. He was not a focused parent. He denied that my youngest had autism. You know, he was like, she doesn't have autism. Are you a fucking doctor? Do you know? No, you don't. You're just guessing. You know, he didn't want to admit that his children were weak in some way. And it's like, just because somebody has autism, just because somebody has ADHD, or someone is like maybe more mentally challenged than the typical average person, it doesn't mean that they're less than. It doesn't mean that they're weak. You just have to teach them differently than average, typical people. So, when he had said that to me, it pissed me off. because I was like, you're denying that your child has this, disability. You have to get over yourself. You have to get over yourself and maybe the expectations that you wanted for your children. You can go and say, oh, I want my child to be a baseball player. Like I want to be, my child's going to be an MLB player, a Major League Baseball player. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean that that's that child's dream. So instead of focusing on like what your expectations for your children to be, why don't you focus on what your children want to do? My eldest, she wants to get into art. That's what I'm going to pursue her in. You do art. Do it. If you want to do it, do it. It may not turn out the way she wants it to, but I encourage her to do it. Because I never got that encouragement when I was younger. I never got that. So for me, that's what I want to do, is I want to encourage her to find something that's going to make her happy. So for this one here, I did like the fact that Willa was really good with her relationship with Luke. And also Luke wasn't just like this accessory piece, because that's another thing I hate about authors, is that if you're going to write in children, the children very much have to be a part of the story. And so for this one here, this child was very much a part of the story. One thing I freaking loved, I laughed at this scene. Let me see if I can find it. I know I saved it in my highlights on Goodreads, but I just thought it was the sweetest thing. Where it says, within minutes, we're on a backcountry road and our serious conversation turns to squeals of joy as the wise beyond his years kid in the back seat tosses heads of fucking lettuce out the window and laughs hysterically. I laughed too. And I'm like, oh my God, it was the sweetest thing, because on the one hand, it's like, you're wasting food. But on the other hand, it's like, if this kid wants to throw a head of lettuce on a back road in the country and think it's hilarious, then you know what? Let's just do it. And I love the fact that she was like, look, whatever we waste, we're going to grow. So she decided to get like lettuce seeds to go and grow their own lettuce. And I'm like, yes, thank you. I'm like, thank you, girl. I'm like, yes, okay, whatever, you're wasting in food, you're going to replenish and, grow some lettuce. So I thought that was really sweet. And I was just like, my God, that is so sweet. I love that. I love that scene where it's like she brought so much joy to this child, that this child just wanted like a mother figure, a mom, and it was just so sweet. It was just, I loved the relationship. I loved Willa's relationship with Luke a little bit more than the relationship with his father. Oh my God, that killed me. I just was like, yes, Willa, yes, be a mother to this child. He needs a mom. I just thought it was so sweet. So yeah, it was just so good. It was really good. And I loved, like I said, I love the fact that the child was very much present in the story, and her talking to him and explaining different things to him. It was so fucking good. It was just so good. It was just so good. I love that one. It was so good. And I'm hoping that the next story is going to be good, because I will definitely check out more from Elsie Silver. Like, she's got another series that I do want to check out, so I'm going to definitely check out that one too. But I do like her. I do like, the characterization was good. The depth and all that stuff was just there. It was just there. So I really do like that. It wasn't surface level. It had more depth to it. That's what I want. So the last book that I've read for this month, I have the physical copy of. And so I ended up reading and finishing off. This is Anna Harrington. This is How the Duke Saved Christmas. This one here was very angst-ridden. It had a lot of angst to it. It had a lot of feelings, because you have, I wrote it in the beginning so I can properly pronounce this. So we have the character of Lady Clara. Now, Lady Clara 2 years ago got into it's called a Phaeton accident. Now, I will go and post a picture of what a Phaeton looks like back in the day. Now, these were basically like sporty carriages. They were the type where if you got into a horse, if you got a horse in front of you and the horse was like in a gallop, you can go through the streets quicker in this Phaeton than you could in a regular carriage, you know? And those regular buggy carriages, obviously they didn't have the, I would assume like the, you know, how it is with cars. Like there are certain cars that have like different suspensions where it has more of a bounce to it. So if you're on a bouncy road, you're kind of like swaying with it, and it's not all like, you know. So for this here, obviously a Phaeton is more of a sporty, like kind of like a sports car compared to an economy car. That's the way I'm kind of like thinking about it. So she and this other man were racing down the, you know, the street, racing down the street in this thing, and it messed up, and they ended up flying off of it. It killed the one gentleman who was with her, and it injured her severely. So she is disabled, and so her leg on her one side is really badly mangled and has scars to it, and some of her muscle ended up getting removed because of the accident. And so what happened is she ended up breaking off her engagement to Michael. Michael was a duke, as Duke of Wakefield, and for 2 years she's avoided seeing him. And this Christmas, they're trying to head to her brother's, where her brother, his wife is, because her brother's wife is going to be having another child. So he wants to make sure that he's, you know, their Christmas time, you know, when they have the baby. And so he's trying to bring his sister along, because his sister's very much like, she's turned into a recluse. She's tried to keep herself out of society. She used to do charities. She stopped doing that. She very much, I consider her being in a deep depression. She's in a severe depression. She's grieving the loss of like her leg, grieving the loss of like, she wanted to go and marry Michael and have a family with him. So she's very much grieving that. And so her brother ends up, they get stuck in the snow, and they say, well, really the closest thing is like where the Duke of Wakefield is, you know, where his residence is. And so she's like, she doesn't want to go there because then she's seeing Michael again, and she has all of these pent up feelings, you know, and everything. So they end up going there, and her brother is carrying her, because that's what she basically has to do. She has to be carried all the time. And so as soon as Michael sees her and sees that, you know, she's in his home, he's like, you know, all of these feelings that he's been feeling for her for 2 years, that he's wanted to like talk to her and hasn't been able to because she's been, you know, basically ignoring him. And he finally is like, she's in my home. I need to, you know, find out why she broke off our engagement, and I want her back. I want to marry her. I love her. So it's very much their second chance romance, where he is bringing her out of the darkness, you know, where, like I said, she is severely depressed. Now, if you read this book, she's very a frustrating character. She's so stubborn and frustrating, but I can understand why she is, because when you look back at that time, you know, you're talking like, this is the 1800s. I think there might be a year on here. Yeah, 1814. So this is like the beginning of the 1800s. Obviously, the medical is not going to be as advanced as it is now. She's also considered, you know, like I said, besides her looking like she's damaged goods, like she's not marriageable, but also the fact that she hasn't had her period, like her period kind of comes and goes. Now that I can go and talk about, I actually looked this up, but she said that she can't have children. Now, I think this is the reason why she can't have children, because it's like, no accident. I can't see any accident where you damage your leg would cause you to not have children. So I looked it up, and it said, can depression affect your period? So it says, yes, depression may affect your period. Depression can cause missed or irregular periods. During periods of stress or depression, hypothalamus function is suppressed. The hypothalamus is a part of the brain that controls the functioning of the pituitary gland, which in turn controls the ovaries. So when the hypothalamus isn't functioning correctly, it can lead to ovarian dysfunction. Ovarian dysfunction can affect ovulation and the production of estrogen. When the ovaries aren't working properly, ovulation may be delayed or stopped. Says this may result in irregular periods or missed periods. And says, can depression stop your period? Yes, depression can stop your period. Not having your period for 3 months or more without pregnancy is called secondary amenorrhea. Amenorrhea. I don't know how to pronounce that name. It says when the cause of amenorrhea is depression and chronic stress, it's called functional hypothalamus amenorrhea. So I looked that up, and that's probably what she's having, because she's saying that she cannot have children, like basically saying she's barren. And it's like, I don't think that's the case. I think she's deeply depressed, and I think if she was able to go back to her functions, go back to like her doing her charity work, doing like, going to parties and going to different things like that, I think it would have her courses come back, have her period come back to where she could have children. So this one here, I felt very much was really focused on like her severe depression and her grieving. She's definitely grieving the loss of like her leg, and it was very, very emotional, very angsty. And so this one here, I really liked it. I did give it 4 stars because he was bringing her out of the darkness and into the light. And one thing that helped him was he was watching his nieces and nephews over the winter break. And so he had basically enlisted the help of his nieces and nephews to kind of like help, bring Christmas time and trees and decorating the tree and all that stuff. He very much had like his nieces and nephews help him with that, so that way it'd bring happiness into her life and make her feel good. And it just really, I really enjoyed this. I like I said, I gave it 4 stars. There was a section here I really liked where she was basically saying like, how her leg is. And so he's like, she's telling him, don't lie. And he says, I'm not. Clara, look at me. He rested his cheek against her knee. Please. She opened her eyes and blinked to clear the blurring tears. It wasn't pity she saw on his face or horror. It was love. Your nose is tipped up at the end, he said. And when you spend too much time in the sun, freckles dot your cheeks. Her lips parted, speechless and stunned. Your eyes are too big for your face, and one ear is ever so slightly higher than the other, he said, as calmly and casually as if he were discussing the weather instead of criticizing her. When you smile too brightly, your eyes squint, and you have a habit of slumping to the side when you sit back in a chair. Your wrists are thin, your ankles are thick, and a birthmark mars your left shoulder blade. He turned his head and pressed his lips against her thigh. And all your faults taken together still create the most beautiful, most special woman I've ever met in my life, and I will ever meet. So her lips trembled, Michael. He says, you're not perfect, Clara. You never were. This scar doesn't make you any less beautiful. He trailed his lips tenderly along the jagged edge that stretched from knee to hip. You're beautiful despite this. He nuzzled his cheek against her leg and let the rough seam scrape lightly at his cheek. You're even more beautiful because of this. And I was like, yes, dude, yes. I really loved the determination he had in here, where he wanted to bring her that happiness. He's seen how closed off she was. He knew how she was like before the accident. That was the things he loved about her, loved about the things about her. And then when he saw like all of the spark she had in her was just extinguished, he wanted to light that candle again in her to have her be who she was. And yes, you're going to be different now that you've had this accident, but it doesn't mean that you can't have happiness because of this. So that's what I think I really liked about this one, was the fact that he brought her out of the darkness and brought her into the light so she can see the life that she could have now. And that's what I think I really liked about this one, was that it did drag on a bit in places. So the story did, because you could get frustrated with her, but I really understood why she was the way she was. I did understand that. You know, she was going through like the loss of her life. The way she was thinking about it is she almost like thought of herself as dead, you know? And when you have depression, you do think of yourself as dead. You think of yourself as a burden, you know? This is why you see so many people who self-delete when they have depression, when they have anxiety, because they don't want to be a burden to their families. And I understand that in a way it makes me angry that they gave up, but I also understand why they self-deleted. I understand that they just wanted it to end. And so with her, it took him, it took the children, his nieces and nephews, and also there is an end in here that something happens and it causes her to like realize what she would miss if she were to just not accept his proposal and not marry him. What she would miss, the things that she would miss out on. And so this was good. This was definitely deeper than I thought it would be. It brought in a lot of different things for me where I was like, wow, I really appreciated this story. And that, yes, people who are depressed, it's hard to bring people out of a depression, but it takes work. You have to keep working with somebody to show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is light there. It's not just darkness. We can find light. We can find it. It is scattered around, you know, but it is there. So that's why I really liked about this book. And so, yeah, this is definitely a keeper. I'm going to keep this one because I really did like that. And like I said, I kept that scene because of what he said to her. The things that he said to her that I was just like, yes, that's what I'd like to see. So yeah, very much Michael. I loved his character because he loved her so much. Loved her so much. Wanted to see her happy. Wanted to marry her and just be with her, you know? So yeah, it was really sweet. So that's it for this video here. 2 really good books that I've read so far. 2 really good books. I'm trying to read more Christmas stories, even though I'm definitely going to be delving into January when I read them. But I'm trying to get through some other Christmas stories. So you might see more Christmas wrap-ups, you know, more Christmas books with wrap-ups for me, like my mid-month and maybe my end of the month in January. Because I'm really trying to get through some more Christmas stories so I can, you know, maybe reread them for next year that I thought were really good. So yeah, that's it for this video here. Have yourself a good day. Take care of yourself. Be kind to each other. And I will see you all on the next video. All right. Bye.